MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 260 of Clean Up on Aisle 45. It's Wednesday, January 15th, 2026. I'm Allison Gill.
What's up, AG? It's Harry Dunn here. All right, we got a lot to cover today, including, thank goodness, the Senate voting by unanimous consent to display the January 6th plaque.
What?
Woohoo, woohoo. Only 3 years later, almost three years later, after it was legally mandated by law. And Donald Trump, of course, seeking $6.2 million in attorney fees and costs over the Fulton County prosecution against him.
Ugh. All right.
Ugh.
Plus, we've more blech here. We have an insurrectionist running for office in Florida. We'll talk about that. He's certainly not the first, won't be the last. And the alleged pipe bomber has pled not guilty, even though he confessed. And in a footnote from his defense attorneys, half of his indictment may be outside the statute of limitations. But but first, we have some patrons to thank, new ones and Hall of Famers. Our new patrons are Allison, best name on the planet, next to Harry, of course.
Next to Harry.
Allison, Lauren, Suzanne, and Dean Rogstad. Thank you so, or maybe it's Rogstad. Maybe it's very auf Deutsch Prussian. But thank you all for signing up to become patrons. As I've hinted, I'm working very hard on our gala, our national, maybe international. I don't know.
Yeah,
folks will come over from
there.
Where Dean Rogstad is from. It's going to be this summer, so I'm looking forward to that, and I'll let all the patrons know if you want tickets, if you want to be invited to this gala, where I buy the booze and the food, and we all kind of hang out with a bunch of radical, awesome radical leftists, like-minded people, somewhere probably in the Midwest. Let us know. Sign up. Patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD. And a shout out to our Hall of Famers, John Qualls, Jeffrey Kincher, Lynn Bentley, the law offices of Redacted, Epstein, and Redacted, hugely criminal attorneys, Mr. Halfspeed, Cliff Cash, what's up, Cliff? Patty B, Accidental Bird Sanctuary founder. I love that so much. Everything I am is accidental, by the way. So I appreciate that. Accidental podcaster. I was supposed to work at the Department of Veterans Affairs till I retired, but here we are.
I was supposed to be a cop for the rest of my career.
You're supposed to be a cop. And then also Deborah Kirby, Charles Jones, Artemis's Wolf, and tricycular manslaughter, which is when you kill someone with your tricycle. Thank you so very much for being Hall of Fame patrons. Again, we couldn't do this without you. So before we get to the news that we have on deck, I mean, we're still going to talk about news here in the A block, but I just kind of wanted to have a freeform discussion about the murder of Renee Nicole Good by an ICE agent named Jonathan Ross. Harry, you've seen the videos. You've seen angle 1, angle 2. I think you've probably even seen the video Jonathan Ross took himself on his cell phone.
On his cell phone. Which is weird.
Which he didn't drop, by the way, after he murdered that woman and then said fucking bitch under her breath as she careened down the street and hit a parked car. You're former law enforcement. You've been trained excessively on use of deadly force. You carried a sidearm. You were trained on when to use it, when to not walk in front of a vehicle that you might be, stopping or talking or asking questions about the person, passenger or driver. Talk a little bit about, I just am so interested as a law enforcement, former law enforcement, but with so much training, your thoughts watching what Jonathan Ross did that day and how he reacted and why he walked around the vehicle fully, like twice. That is just something that you don't do, right?
Well, it's murder. Like that, he murdered her, like you appropriately stated. I've been fortunate where I never had to face a situation, but most people don't until they actually do face a situation.
Well, that's the whole point, is you try to avoid having to draw your sidearm.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's been situations where, you're trying to stop a car that isn't stopping and blah, 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 but you never place yourself in the way. In fact, I'm going to read, now everything is agency specific, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But this is from the MPD, DC Police Rule Book Manual Use of Force. Members shall not discharge a firearm either at or from a moving vehicle unless deadly force is being used against the member or another person. For purposes of this order, this is a general order for the department. For purposes of this order, a moving vehicle is not considered deadly force except when it is reasonable to believe that the moving vehicle is being used to ram or attempt to ram a crowd of people with the intent to inflict fatal injuries. Members, meaning officers, members of the department, shall avoid tactics that could place them in a position where a vehicle could be used against them. And that is strictly from the, now every agency is different, but a lot of them, typically follow the same guidelines, the same, rules of engagement, so to speak. Because the common thread around deadly force is the Supreme Court decision, Graham versus Connor. That was in 1985. And another thing with that says, fleeing felon. Can officers shoot somebody as they're running away? That's why they shot him in the back. And that's why a lot of times if somebody shot him while they're running away, it's a big uproar. Because the Supreme Court says that you are allowed to do that only when you reasonably believe the person is running to go inflict further harm and danger to individuals. We all saw the video. Mrs. Good was running because she was afraid. She did not try to hit the officer. The wheels were 100% turned, like all the way. And the officer put himself in a position to attempt to make himself a victim. And that goes to stand by his final words, like you just said, fucking bitch, after he killed her, after he murdered her.
Well, DHS has a similar policy. You aren't to fire at a fleeing vehicle. And with the same verbiage taken from that Supreme Court case, unless there is a reasonable belief that you are in danger. And if that wheel is all the way turned and your feet are to the side of the car and you fire 2 additional shots directly into the driver's side window, you're no longer we have reasonable fear. You also don't walk around the front of the vehicle. And the reason that those DHS policies were put into place was a 21-page scathing report released in 2014 that showed, and then, this is a report from the LA Times, that showed Border Patrol agents were putting themselves in front of a vehicle in order to justify deadly use of force. Yeah. They were doing that on purpose. And there was recently a decision in November where Judge Ellis in Chicago, after Bovino's Operation Midway Blitz, found that ICE officers were caught on video brake checking other vehicles in order to cause a crash that they could then use to justify use of force. Mm-hmm. They have a history of doing this. And something else I learned, which I talked about on Beans Talk, one of my 8,000 podcasts that I do, is that have you seen all of these ICE officers? Like recently, they're all quoting Title 18 United States Code. Yes. Section 111. One guy was like, Code 111, bro, learn it, know it. And, if you read Code 111, the very first word in that law is that you cannot forcibly impede or assault officers, such as maybe somebody on January 6th is doing.
Hello.
So I just don't understand their reasoning here. And Harry, I also learned that in that 2014 report about Border Patrol putting themselves in front of vehicles to justify force, they were also using he threw a rock at me to justify the use of deadly force. So they're at the border wall. And the border wall has slats here at Otay Mesa, just a couple of miles away from me. And there were people on the Mexico side of the border wall throwing rocks through the slats at the officers. And the watchdog that put together the report said, instead of just backing away so you were no longer in harm's way, throwing distance of the wall, They shot at these people.
Mm-hmm.
And so throwing rocks and putting yourself in front of a vehicle, and those are the two main things I see in all of these dismissed cases brought against assaulting ICE officers. They rammed us in. They tried to ram us with their vehicle. We felt the danger of our lives. Or Bovino saying in court, somebody threw a rock at my head in order to justify deploying tear gas against peaceful protesters, which is against the law also against policy without giving a warning and giving people time to comply. Like if you say y'all need to back up, you're impeding, like you're blocking our driveway, you're impeding us, we can't leave.
You have to give them a reasonable chance to back
up. And then Judge Ellis actually saw the videos of this. There was no rock thrown. And Bovino had to admit that he lied about that. So it's all about rock throwing and ramming with vehicles. And then Code 111, bro. Like, how did they learn about Code 111?
They're coached on it.
They're coached on it,
and they don't even know what it means. They don't even know what it means.
Right. They didn't come up with that themselves. I want to see the Code 111 rock/ram vehicle memo that went out from Kristi Noem, because I bet you one did.
I'm sure it did. And Kristi Noem, like I said, Kristi Noem, one, doesn't know the law, and she doesn't give a damn about policy. Like any reasonable person would say, in the head of an organization, good shoot, bad shoot, any type of officer involved shooting, we're going to investigate and we're going to let the facts come out. That's even Republican, Democrat, cops that you hate, cops that you love, police chiefs across the country, we're going to do an investigation and the facts will come out. Period. Not Kristi Noem.
That's how it was for George Floyd.
That's exactly how it was. That's how it was for any shoot across the country. We're going to conduct an independent or an investigation. But nope, not this administration. This administration swooped in, and you have the vice president of the United States saying that his officers have immunity and they will not face any type of consequences. Like, this is insane. This is overreach. In fact, an ICE doesn't have the authority to do law enforcement activity. They can do their mission, whichever that is, which is, would argue that, but they cannot be out there directing traffic. They can't give parking tickets. They cannot conduct local enforcement of laws.
And if somebody's blocking the road for them to enforce their thing,
that's not to call the police.
Which she wasn't, by the way. She waved a vehicle by that went by and went around her. She backed up a little bit, and then she tried to wave this truck around, the truck where the agents came out.
And they got out the car.
And they could have gone around her. She wasn't impeding them. And the way that would work is if she were impeding them and they couldn't get around her, then they would come out. One would go to the passenger door, one would go to the driver door, and they would say, "You need to move your vehicle." And then we would need to give her a reasonable time to move her vehicle and not stand in front of it.
But that's the thing. They didn't tell her to move her vehicle. They told her to get out.
Yeah.
They didn't say
reached
move
in her door.
They reached in, opened the door, said, "Get the F out."
Another cop question for you.
Yeah.
Another cop question for you. The guy who fired Jonathan Ross, he almost hit his fellow officer.
Mm-hmm.
The officer who was reaching in to get the door, whose head was right near her head, and whose head was right near, an arm was right near the side view mirror.
Sure.
He almost hit that. He almost hit his fellow officer. He's endangering the lives of people and his fellow officer.
Well, regardless of criminal charges, he should not be able to own a firearm. Even if we all saw he murdered her, full stop. Yeah. But, this administration is going to conduct a peekaboo investigation. Oh, he was clear. Up. Yeah, exactly. And the rules of basic firearms, that's rule number 4. Be aware of your target, your backstop, and beyond, because you're responsible for every single round that you have in your possession. You're responsible for it, even after it leaves your gun. So he, at the very least, he should never be able to own a gun again because he's violating safety rules. And gun safety is the number one thing. But all gun owners, whether you're for gun ownership or you're pro, like give me 150 guns, or I don't want guns at all, or I only have one. Everybody agrees that gun safety is extremely important. And I've been on the range with adamant Second Amendment gun enthusiasts, and all of us agree that gun safety is nothing at all to joke around with.
It's number one.
He violated that rule.
Yeah.
And the law, of course.
I remember when I bought my Glock 23, the guy in the shop was trying to talk me into a shotgun. He said, you should get this so you can cock the shotgun, and so you don't have to, so you could scare people with the sound of cocking the shotgun, so you don't have to fire anything. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, if you get this, it's 40 caliber. If you aim and fire at somebody in your house and you miss and that bullet goes through a wall and hurts somebody outside, you could be liable for that. And I first of all, I was like, look, you misogynistic MRF.
I'm not going to miss.
I'm not going to miss. But he's like, look, little lady, I think you should get a shotgun. But that was their main concern, was the backstop. What's on the other side of that?
What's on the other side of it?
Gun. What's on the other side of the person you're shooting, especially if your weapon has a high enough caliber to travel through something and hit something on the other side. And he almost hit his fellow officer. So
so he clearly wasn't thinking, he wasn't smart. He broke the law and he murdered Mrs. Good. So
now one other question about mental fitness for this job.
Yes.
JD Vance is claiming that several years ago, that this officer, Jonathan Ross, was dragged by a car when he was doing a stop. And so he ended up with 13 stitches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I had 400 in my head when I got into a car accident, but 13, I guess, is a respectable number of stitches. Yeah. But he's somehow traumatized by this. And that's probably why he, overreacted and broke all protocol and murdered Nicole Good. If you are incapable of remaining calm in a situation where you have to decide deadly use of force, should you be a cop?
Absolutely not. And, I started thinking because I heard that BS argument that JD Vance dumbass put out. And, I was an officer 3 years after January 6th. For 3 years afterwards. And there were protests that happened. There were large groups of people that came up there yelling and chanting. There were red hats come up there calling the Capitol Police wrong. Well, we had to be on the front lines of those protesters. Could I have just had a flashback? Could I have just pulled my gun out and said I was traumatized? Could I have just shot somebody or took my baton out and started beating somebody? I was traumatized, y'all. We saw January 6th. Mm-hmm. Like, it's bullshit, man. It's absolute bullshit. If you are not capable, and the fact that JD Vance brought that up, if and when this ever goes to trial, that's going to be definitely used by the defense, because that is not an excuse. Once you step out on that street or you put that badge on you, no matter what has happened in the past, that means you're saying I am capable,
I would hammer on that.
To do my job.
I would hammer on that. I would be like, are you not mentally well enough because of this previous incident where you were dragged? Are you not mentally well enough to execute the rules and the policies of the Department of Homeland Security and use of force?
Should he have been out on the street that soon? Now I'm going after the Homeland Security. Now I'm going after Kristi Noem for putting a person out there who was not well and endangering the lives of the community. And he clearly took the life of Mrs. Good. So,
in any normal universe, DHS would say we need to, amp up our mental health testing and our qualifications.
Or at least pretend like it.
Right. At least pretend.
At least pretend that you care.
Not this was justified. She was a lunatic and she was mean to us, and therefore.
And she wasn't though. She just literally said, "I'm not mad at you guys." Those were her last words.
Right.
I'm not mad at you guys.
I would feel certainly my life in danger, so much so that I would walk around the front of the car twice. If I thought
I absolutely take that. And then he pulled out his cell phone to record. But yeah, that absolutely gets hammered. That got to go to. You have to bring that up in court. This guy shouldn't have been on the street. The vice president said it himself. He was mentally unwell.
I hope charges are brought. If not, I hope a civil lawsuit for wrongful death is brought, and maybe we can get that evidence that we need in discovery there.
Absolutely.
All right. We have more to talk about. We need to take a quick break. Everybody stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Okay, moving on. Now, Donald Trump is seeking damages over his Fulton County RICO prosecution, as he said he would. This reporting comes from ABC. And now Donald Trump said on Wednesday, filed a motion in Fulton County, Georgia, seeking to recover more than $6 million in legal fees after the election interference case against him was dismissed earlier this year. The court filing claims District Attorney Fani Willis began a politically motivated, lengthy investigation in February of 2021, and that he is now entitled to recover those fees because of Willis's disqualification from the case as a result of the new law that allows for exactly that.
I wonder why they passed that law. Trump and 18 others pled not guilty in August 2023 to all charges in a sweeping racketeering indictment for alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in the state of Georgia. But Willis was subsequently disqualified from the case following accusations of impropriety regarding her personal relationship with fellow prosecutor Nathan Wade, and the case was ultimately dropped. In the wake of the case, the Georgia legislature passed a bill that would, quote, provide for the award of reasonable attorney's fees and costs in a criminal case to the defendant upon such defendant making a successful motion to disqualify the prosecuting attorney for misconduct in connection with the case. They passed this for him. The Republican state senator who introduced the bill said he did so with the Trump case specifically in mind.
Yeah, of course he did. In Wednesday's filing, Trump's attorney said they're seeking about $6.2 million for the reimbursement of fees paid to 8 firms that handled Trump's defense. The motion came on the same day that federal prosecutors moved to dismiss a long-time running assault case against Harrison Floyd, one of Trump's 18 co-defendants in the Fulton County election case, after Floyd was accused of attacking 2 FBI agents in 2023 as they attempted to serve him with a subpoena in a related case.
Yeah. The rare decision to drop the federal charge came shortly after Trump in November issued a largely symbolic grant of clemency to individuals who worked on his behalf to challenge the results of the 2020 election. In a court filing Wednesday, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in Maryland informed the federal judge overseeing Floyd's case that her office, quote, moves to dismiss without prejudice the criminal complaint in the above-captioned case. The judge approved the request. Soon afterward, prosecutors did not provide an explanation for the dismissal.
The charge stemmed from an incident in February 2023 when Floyd allegedly assaulted 2 FBI agents sent on behalf of then Special Counsel Jack Smith to serve him with a subpoena related to Smith's federal election subversion probe, according to court records. Floyd, a former Marine and mixed martial arts fighter, allegedly rushed at the agents and spit in their faces, the records show. During the encounter, Floyd shouted profanities at the agents, including, "You effing piece of S," and "Who the F do you think you are," according to an affidavit. One of the agents showed Floyd his firearm in an effort to de-escalate the confrontation, according to the affidavit. Boy, they really care about these law enforcement folks, don't they? Like, FBI, this guy spit on him, he cussed at him, he charged at him. But since they're Jack Smith's FBI, right? They don't matter.
They were actually Chris Wray's FBI.
Exactly. Exactly.
But whatever. This past November, Trump issued all defendants in the Georgia election case a sweeping pardon, though the move was largely symbolic, like I said, because the cases were brought at the state level and therefore fell outside the scope of the presidential pardon power. But Floyd's attorney, Carlos Salvato, told ABC News at the time that the language in Trump's clemency order might also apply to Floyd's otherwise unrelated federal assault charge. A Justice Department spokesperson did not respond to requests for comment from ABC, so they let him off the hook. And, with Trump in mind, the very, very Republican Georgia state legislature passed a law that basically said Donald Trump can have millions of dollars.
Get your money back.
For this. It kind of reminds me of when they tried to sneak in the continuing resolution that senators who Jack Smith subpoenaed their toll records
could get their
could get $1 million apiece. Like, come on. That's just so corrupt.
So corrupt. And they're not even hiding it. Like the guy literally said, the guy who introduced it, like you read earlier, he did so with the Trump case specifically in mind. So this guy's trying to get favor from Donald Trump. And boy, I bet you he sure did too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's awful. That's just, I hate everything about this. And then Scandalakis, of course, took over the case for himself and dismissed the whole thing.
And just dismissed the whole thing. We knew that was coming.
Saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah.
All right, we've got more news to come your way, but we have to take another quick break. So everyone, please stick around. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Our next story comes from CBS News. The man seen carrying away a lectern from then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's office. He was photographed. He looked like a Yeti the way he was walking with his lectern.
He did. That's why it's so funny. He did.
Right? That walk like that Will Ferrell does in the movie Elf, you know? He was doing that with the lectern on January 6th. He's now running for public office in Florida because of course he is. Adam Johnson, 41, became known as the lectern guy after he was photographed smiling and waving as he carried Pelosi's podium after the pro-Trump mob's attack. According to CBS affiliate WPEC, he later pled guilty to entering or remaining in a restricted building and was sentenced to 75 days in prison. He filed to run as a Republican for an at-large seat on the Manatee County Commission on Tuesday. That was the 5th anniversary. He filed on the anniversary of January 6th.
How fitting. Johnson told WWSB-TV that it was not a coincidence that he filed for office on January 6th, saying it's definitely good for getting the buzz out there. His campaign logo is an outline of the viral photograph of him carrying the podium. Of him committing a crime is actually what it is.
Yeah, elect me because I stole a podium.
Yeah, I'm a criminal, and here's a reminder of it. According to the campaign website, Johnson said he is tired of watching MAGA principles get ignored at the local level. Johnson said he objects to high property taxes and overdevelopment in the county south of Tampa, claiming current county leaders are wasteful.
Oh, so you're going to elect the rich guys who do all the developments into office, I see.
Yeah.
Quote, I will be more heavily scrutinized than any other candidate who's running in this race. Yeah, I'm glad you narrowed it to that race because otherwise nobody knows who you are.
Exactly.
Quote, this is a positive and good takeaway for every single citizen because for once in our life, I will get my ass handed to me. No, that's not what he said. For once in our life, we will know our local politicians who are doing things. What a great campaign statement. We will know our local politicians who are doing things. Do things. Vote for me. 4 other Republicans have filed to run so far. It's the August 18th primary in what is a deeply Republican county, so he actually might have a chance here. The incumbent is not seeking re-election in that county.
Yeah, you remember Johnson placed the podium in the center of the rotunda of the Capitol, posed for pictures, and pretended to make a speech, prosecutors said. He pled guilty in 2021 of entering and remaining in a restricted building or ground, a misdemeanor that he equated to jaywalking in the interview. Nah, I don't jaywalk in my ass. I think I exercised my First Amendment right to speak and protest, Johnson
and
said.
And steal stuff?
What?
Your First Amendment right to steal stuff? All right.
What a scumbag. Republican math, right? Is that Republican math?
Man, like he probably was going to try to take that lectern with him, but realized it was just too heavy for him to carry. And so he set it down in the middle of the rotunda.
He was definitely going to take it. So,
what a dick. Anyway, good luck, Florida. After driving home, by the way, he bragged that he broke the internet and was, quote, finally famous. I'm finally famous.
Finally famous.
He served 75 days in prison, followed by a year of supervised release. The judge also ordered that he pay $5,000 in restitution, a fine, and perform 200 hours of community service. Johnson told U.S. District Judge Reggie Walton, who's a badass, by the way, at sentencing that posing with Pelosi's podium was a very stupid idea, but now says he only regrets his action because he got caught.
But yet he made it his campaign logo, though, right?
Yeah. Quote, I walked into a building, I took a picture with a piece of furniture, and I left. What is the Latin phrase for that? It's not veni, vidi, vici.
I came, I saw, conquered.
Yeah. No. What is I came, I saw, I took a piece of furniture and left. I'm going to look that up in a minute.
Oh, man.
Johnson had already finished serving his sentence in prison by the time Trump came and pardoned everybody, so at least that's good.
Yeah. He's far from the first person implicated in the January 6th riot to run for office. At least 3 ran unsuccessfully for Congress in 2024 as Republicans. And there are signs that the Republican Party is welcoming back more people who were convicted of January 6th offenses after Trump pardoned them. Jake Lang, who was charged with assaulting an officer, civil disorder, and other crimes before he was pardoned, recently announced that he is running for Secretary of State Marco Rubio's vacant Senate seat in Florida. Florida man. Florida man assaults cops, becomes senator.
Yeah, right.
It
By the way,
reads right. It reads right for Florida. Florida man steals Pelosi podium and now is elected to board of whatever.
By the way,
tracks,
it's Vini.
right?
It's Vini Vidi Suppelectulum Kepi et Decessi. That's how you say it.
I posed with furniture and I left.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
By the way, we're going to go back to January 6th here. Our next story comes from The Hill. The man accused of planting pipe bombs outside the DNC and RNC on January 5th, the night before the riot, he pled not guilty Friday to federal charges. Brian Cole Jr. faces 2 explosives-related counts tied to the Washington incident that was an elusive mystery of the days surrounding the riot for years.
CNN and Bloomberg reporting on this Cole's plea. The pipe bombs were planted on January 5th, 2021, but discovered undetonated the next day as Donald Trump's mob, his supporters, ascended on the Capitol in a bid to halt the certification of his election to our friend and great man, Joe Biden. Cole was arrested last month after what government officials said was an aha moment led to a breakthrough in the nearly 5-year investigation. Aha.
Yeah, what's interesting is that aha moment was somebody in the FBI wrote a code to crack T-Mobile's, geolocation stuff. That's a whole novel thing. It's going to be interesting to see if the court accepts it as evidence. But a federal magistrate judge last week ordered him to remain locked up while awaiting trial, pointing to bomb-making components found in shopping bags in Cole's home and car upon his arrest. The plea comes on the heels of a wonky legal fight unique to the nation's capital.
Yeah, the initial indictment against Cole was returned last month by a local grand jury, not a federal one, as is typical in cases where federal charges are brought. On Tuesday, prosecutors obtained a new indictment from a federal grand jury. U.S. Magistrate Judge Matthew Sharbaugh at first did not accept the D.C. Superior Court's grand jury indictment, noting an ongoing debate in the district's court about whether both types of grand juries are empowered to indict on such charges. But ultimately, he then approved it. The superseding indictment followed soon after.
Yeah, he actually never approved the lower court indictment. That's not what he used. So I don't know what the hell's talking about there. He just said, I'm doing my own probable cause that he's a danger to the community, so I'm putting him in pretrial detention. But Cole's attorneys maintained that he should be released pending trial because the initial indictment was not valid, but its acceptance resulted in other procedural steps being skipped. They also assert that the initial indictment's validity must be decided instead of deemed moot because at least one of the 2 counts that Cole's faces has a 5-year statute of limitations. And the federal indictment, the federal grand jury one, was obtained Tuesday, 5 years and 1 day after the conduct took place. They would have to tie him to January 6th in order for that indictment to have made it into the statute of limitations. They would have had to tie it to January 6th to add a day to it. Do you know what I'm saying? But they don't want to tie him to January 6th because they don't want people to know he's MAGA.
That's what this FBI and Department of Justice is so shady.
They're sloppy.
I'll just use the nice word and say shady.
Sketch.
It really extremely. Prosecutors have said that after his arrest, Cole gave a detailed confession. Cole allegedly told investigators that he believed someone needed to speak up on behalf of the people who thought the 2020 election had been stolen from Trump, and that targeted the major political parties because they were in charge.
He denied targeting Congress or the January 6th joint session where the electoral votes were being certified. At least that's what Jeanine Pirro said, reportedly telling investigators that he doesn't like either party at this point, which means now, not then.
Exactly.
Cole also allegedly said he viewed the science-related YouTube videos. He referred to those to help put the bomb together and was, quote, pretty relieved when they didn't detonate because he didn't want to kill anyone. The government has argued, quote, it was luck, not lack of effort, that the devices remained intact, while Cole's attorneys maintained that the bombs weren't even viable. That's going to be an important defense point.
Yeah, definitely. Cole's attorney also revealed he has been diagnosed with autism and obsessive compulsive disorder, resulting in a daily routine they say refutes the government's contention he was avoiding law enforcement detection. Cole is charged with transporting an explosive device in interstate commerce and attempted malicious destruction by means of explosive materials. If convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison on the first count and a 5-year minimum or 20-year maximum prison term on the second.
Yeah.
A lot to unpack here, a lot to follow, a lot of developments that I'm very curious about that 5 years in 1 day statute of limitations thing, right?
Right. Because, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see.
Very much so.
What they do. Do they supersede this with a connection to January 6th? Do they? I don't know. He didn't do anything on January 6th itself, at least not according to them. But we don't know because Janine Pirro won't tell us where he was on January 6th or when he left the D.C. area.
They don't know.
But, I mean, if he planted those to detonate on January 6th and was there on January 6th, well, you might be able to extend that statute of limitations.
But they're adamant. Well, we saw the video. He planned it on January 5th, the night
right.
before.
And if they're trying to hide the fact that he was connected to the riot at the Capitol, can't figure out why they don't want to connect him to the riot at the Capitol. It was just a peaceful protest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. They know. It's making it their denial of the facts of what happened on January 6th is making this case very difficult for themselves.
A nightmare for them.
Very difficult for themselves. So it might be why it took a month to get a federal grand jury to indict. And again, one of those counts may not even be viable. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. We've got a couple more stories for you, but we're going to take one last quick break. So everybody stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. The saga of the January 6th plaque continues. On January 5th, Mike Johnson finally broke his silence about it. Scott McFarlane at CBS reported that House Speaker Mike Johnson, after 2 years of deflecting questions on the matter, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never read it. I haven't heard about it. Is now arguing that the legally required January 6th plaque must be reconsidered. In a statement on January 5th, a spokesperson for Johnson said, quote, as written, the statute authorizing this plaque is not implementable, and proposed alternatives devised by Democrat House staff, not members, also do not comply with the statute. What they're talking about is that they want to list every single officer, thousands that were there, instead of the things, but like instead of the organizations. But some of the Democrats were like, we'll just put a QR code on there that you could beep and look at the whole.
Look it up to see it. It sounds simple enough to me. Another thing with that, a lot of officers said, I don't want my name associated with. So having to get roles that could be complicated too. So he went on to say, if Democrats are serious about commemorating the work of USCP officers, U.S. Capitol Police, they are free to work with the appropriate committees of jurisdiction to develop a framework for proper vetting and consideration.
Blah, word salad doesn't even mean anything. What the fuck does that even mean? But NPR reports the Senate has agreed to display the plaque honoring the police who defended the Capitol January 6th, rebuffing Mike Johnson, who has said the commemorative memorial does not comply with the law. The action happened fast with brief debate in floor action last Thursday. Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, who's retiring, had announced during this week's 5th anniversary of the Capitol siege that he would seek to ensure the plaque was installed, partnering with Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon, who was also working on this situation, and Democratic Senator Alex Padilla of California. And no senators objected to the call for unanimous consent.
To both of our surprises, AG.
Yeah.
Tillis said a lot of people said it was a dark day for democracy, describing his memory of hearing the thousands of people, thugs, he said, lay siege to the Capitol as Congress was tallying the 2020 election results. He said that because of the work of law enforcement officers, it instead became a great day for democracy. We came back and completed our constitutional duty to certify the election, he said. We owed them eternal gratitude, and this nation is stronger because of him. Man, even a broken clock is right. Go ahead, Senator Tillis.
Even a broken clock that's retiring from Congress.
Exactly.
We need to amend that phrase. This week, senators stepped up after learning the plaque, which had been approved by Congress more than 3 years ago, was nowhere to be found at the Capitol. Instead, many House lawmakers have been hanging up replicas outside of their office
House
doors.
Democratic lawmakers.
Let's say that, Democratic lawmakers. The Senate also appeared to be motivated by the shifting narrative from Trump's White House about what happened on January 6th, when his supporters stormed the building after he urged them to go to Capitol to confront Congress and hang Mike Pence over Democrat Joe Biden's 2020 election victory.
Trump himself shifted blame for the attack during a speech this week in which he said he only intended for his supporters to march peacefully to the Capitol. Moreover, the White House produced a glossy new report also shifting blame for the deadly riot on Democrats for Biden's victory over Trump and on the Capitol Police for their response to the mob.
Yeah, that whole whitehouse.gov
on the website.
Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Capitol Police officers that were it was like
agitators,
5,000 of them and like 100 of you, and it was you guys. Okay.
Yeah.
The plaque, according to the law, was intended to be placed at the west front of the Capitol, where the most fierce fighting took place. It was required to be installed by March of 2023, I think, a year after the legislation passed.
Yep.
The new resolution directs the architect of the Capitol to prominently display the plaque in a publicly accessible location. So this was a bill written up by Tillis and Merkley, a resolution saying we're going to do this in the Senate. We're going to display it prominently where it's publicly accessible in the Senate wing of the Capitol until it can be placed where it's supposed to be under law, which you're suing them for, by the way.
Yeah.
To display the plaque in its intended location would require agreement with Mike Johnson because he's a little...
I'm glad that you brought that up because that last thing that you just said, AG, to display the plaque in its intended location would require agreement with the House and Mike Johnson. Actually, no. It's going to require us winning in court. So we're thankful for the Senate that has already said they're going to display it. But that's not what the law says. They are just doing something to honor us, which we are truly appreciative of. However, as of now,
it's kind of like today, in the meantime, until Mike Johnson gets his shit together or the court orders him to get his shit together, we'll display it here prominently where it's publicly accessible, but it's supposed to be.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So as of now, our lawsuit is still ongoing, and we will compel Mike Johnson the architect of the Capitol, to comply with the law. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
The office of Johnson, a Republican who before becoming the House Speaker led efforts to object to 2020 election results, said this week that the plaque as constructed does not comply with the law. And police, myself and Daniel Hodges, have sued to get the plaque on display as required. But Trump's Justice Department is trying to dismiss the lawsuit.
Yeah. Now, Tillis said part of the technical implementation problem was a concern that the law specified the plaque would honor all the officers involved, but the plaque only lists the various law enforcement agencies that responded to the Capitol that day. He said there will be a digital component, presumably a website, that will list all the names. That should take care of it, right? The number of officers actually runs into the thousands.
But like I said, HE, a lot of officers, not a lot, I would say less than most, don't want their names listed. You know, like whether they puts their public name out there, the Proud Boys.
Maybe they're MAGA, or maybe they don't want to be doxxed or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Maybe they could be doxxed. Somebody could go say, I know this guy. You know what? Let's look him up.
Let's go find out where he lives and where his family lives. And
it sucks that a memorial meant to honor sacrifice and service, it could be used as a way to dox and hurt people. So
police.
I don't blame them.
The police, the Republican Law and Order Party, we love the police. Stop assaulting our ICE officers, but go ahead and assault our Capitol officers.
Mm-hmm.
And our FBI agents, when they're serving subpoenas on you for helping Trump try to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia.
Oh, man.
It's frustrating. It's super frustrating. But I'm heartened that the Senate, by unanimous consent, agreed to display it in the meantime.
It was so great.
Accessible location. I wonder where it is. I thought it was in the basement or something in storage, in Capitol storage. But they're like, maybe Mike Johnson took it and hid it. Maybe they put it in the East Wing before they destroyed it,
Absolutely. So
I still don't know what happened to everything in the East Wing, all those artifacts and pieces of history. I still am sad and worried about where they are. I mean, how many times have you and I been to a White House Christmas party, my friend?
I know.
Over
I
in the
know.
East Wing. Or
It
when
was beautiful,
we went to see the Gold State Warriors.
Golden State Warriors, the Steph Curry. Yep, that was great.
Mm-hmm. And
what
Kerr
a great
was
time.
there. Yeah. Man, all right.
Oh, man. And shout out to Steve Kerr, by the way, for calling
the murder a murder.
a murder. Shout out to him for doing that. He was great.
And all the MAGAs like, I've lost all respect for Steve Kerr.
Well, that means they weren't paying attention because Steve Kerr spoke so forcefully and eloquently at the DNC. He was great. I encourage y'all to go look up his speech at the DNC. Shout out Steve Kerr.
MAGA, if you hate everyone, if all you've got left is Ted Nugent and some fucking taint smegma to look up to, maybe like look around you and be like, maybe it's me. If you have to disown all of the people that you respect and admire in order to continue to lick the boot of Donald Trump, when does it dawn on people like, oh, maybe if everyone who I really like and admire hates this guy, maybe I'm in a cult. Like, well, it's that whole reinforcement, that cult mentality and that reinforcement behavior is just, it's real. You know, I think of the Milgram experiments where they actually got students to think they were electrocuting each other for money. That exact sort of mentality is what happened to Abu Ghraib when they were, otherwise good people were torturing prisoners. That whole concept is just frightening. It's just frightening, especially when it's on a national scale and it's the president of the United States.
Absolutely. So we're staying in the fight, y'all. Yep.
Not giving up. Staying in the fight. Thanks to our patrons. If you want to become a patron, it's patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD. Thank you for supporting us. You make this show happen. We have so many, I'm working on signing, I'm not going to do any AI pledge on any MSW media show. So all of our copywriters, our editors, our people who manage our calendars, people who engineer the shows, it's all done manually by human beings. And, that costs money. And I'm not going to let AI take over these jobs because, first of all, it sucks, but it's also bad for the planet. And I want to continue to employ these really amazing people that work on the MSW media team. So it's because of patrons that we're able to do that we're able to pay high wages, we're able to do 401k matches, we're able to provide health care. And so thank you. It's because of you.
Thank you all. Yeah.
We couldn't do it without you. So we'll figure out a great gala for you and have a great party as we do every year. All right, everybody, we're going to see you on the bonus episode this weekend. And of course, on the public episode next week. Take care, please. Take a break. Step away from social media, maybe, if you need to. Everyone should be, at 100% and taking care of themselves. Do you have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I echo everything you just said. I'm always big on protecting your peace and protecting your space. So echo that 100%. And you too, AG. You're working ass. We're AG be working her ass off, y'all. And we love her for it.
I love what I do. Thank you all so much, everybody. We'll see you next week. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.